Hello, Fox and Foxettes. How the devil are we? It's Friday. It's now 8 o'clock. And you know what I found? My youth is being taken away from me. I'm a 70s child. So you I'll leave that one with you. You'll understand that one. But it is no longer Crackerjack at 5 o'clock. The BBC have brought it back, apparently, which I didn't even know about. But then again, why would I be watching kids' programs? But it's 6 o'clock. It was always 5 to 5. What are the BBC doing? I tell you what we're doing. This is the LCFC Question Time show. It was the Q&A show, just a change of name. New time, 8 o'clock moving forward on a Friday. We've no David, it's just me and Brad. And this is Leicester Till I Die.
It's time! Strap yourself in, because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts. Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
And now, here's your host.
Right, Chris.
All right again. Yes, it is Leicester Till I Die. It is the Question Time show. Does what it says on the tin, basically. No agenda. You make your agenda by asking the questions. I'll ask the first one to get us going. Well, I will do when Brad's come back from watering the garden. And after that, we'll just talk about whatever you want to talk about. Try and put an answer to your questions if you've got any. Please do a couple of things for me tonight. If you could do what it says there, that little hand, and just press that subscribe button, I would love you forever and a day. And if you don't subscribe, I will love you even longer. That's how much of a threat it is. If you are listening or even listening to us on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, any of the top podcast platforms, we are on there as well. And we upload soon as the show finishes. But well, basically, this is where you can find us.
It's time!
No, it's not. This is where you can find us
on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die. Broadcasting live worldwide.
And if you've got 5 minutes, just go across to footballcontentawards.com / don't know why I did that. You can't see me what I'm doing anyway. Voting. Do it every year. Football Content Awards. Please consider voting for Leicester Till I Die in the Football Content Creators Awards, Best New Content Creator. It would be absolutely amazing. Don't get I'm going to win it because usually it's big clubs, with big followings. But if you would be so kind, it would mean an awful lot. It really would. So let's kick the show off and let's welcome my co-host in and go, good evening, Brad. How are you?
Good evening, mate. I'm well, thanks. I'm doing well today.
Good. And I must admit, I had a fine day. I started off the day with an MOT, and it could have gone either way, but thankfully it had gone. It had gone well. Facebook user, good evening again. Not sure who you are, and we'll come on to this. We knew we were going to get a lot of questions about our Wes. Just heard LCFC and Chelsea have come to a verbal agreement for Fofana. I won't apologise. I won't say I'm not relieved, to be honest with you. I'm just glad it may be coming to an end. But look, I always ask the first question, and it's just you and me again today. So little cosy booth for two in the corner with a little candle and a glass of red wine. Let's say it doesn't go through, right? Let's say we don't, Chelsea don't sign him, and we've got him, for till January, obviously. There's obviously going to be a lot of bridges to be built. There's a lot of players that aren't going to be happy with him from his actions, not only generally, but also as we spoke the other night about his actions when James Maddison scored, or his lack of actions, I should say. And he's with the under-23s at the moment. Now, Brendan said yesterday that he totally understands why. But if he was to be in the team for Man United, because obviously we were away to Chelsea, he's not going to be there. And to be honest with you, I even think, to be honest with you, if it was just a normal transfer, it's a good idea sometimes to leave them out. But how would you as a fan greet him if his name was read out before the game and he was in the Leicester City squad to play Man United next Thursday?
I just wouldn't react. I'd be honest with you. We've had a few players, well, a handful of players, probably count on one hand, that have disgraced themselves when they've been at a club. Dennis Wise, the most notable name. Again, we relate back to Mahrez because of the fact that it's like a Mahrez 2.0. I think he'd get a very hostile reception from the away, from the Leicester fans. I think it'd just be footballing, implosion. That I don't want to say the word that most people associate with it, but it'd be an absolute implosion, and it would be more disruptive towards Leicester than anything. It doesn't benefit anybody trying to play him quickly. He's got to, face up to his actions. He's got to. Like I always said, if he gets to the 2nd February and he's still a Leicester player, at some point he's going to have to come back to us with his tail between his legs, and it ain't going to be, all is forgiven. That certainly won't happen. And even if it takes 6 to 8 games for that occasion, I still don't think there'll still be a majority of that crowd, or at best down to a minority of the crowd will still grumble to hear his name for everything he's done. And you've got to understand that, and I would understand them fans. I wouldn't have any qualms with fans not liking his name being read out in the team sheet, because really, if he does get back into the team and plays well, we know it's all for show, just to make sure Chelsea do pay the fee next time around. In January or next summer. So I'm done with him. I'm done with him now. Whatever happens, it happens. I'm kind of like, well, fine.
Literally 5 minutes ago, Fabrizio Romano tweeted, Chelsea and Leicester are now on the verge of reaching full agreement for Wesley Fofana, confirmed as at Fabrice Hawkins, whoever that is, reported. Final details, then here we go. New bid submitted today following Chelsea plan called on Thursday. Personal terms agreed weeks ago. To be honest with you, just get out. I mean, I would find it hard to boo him if he turned up against Manchester United in a Leicester shirt. If I was a Leicester fan there tomorrow and he was at the ground, and I don't think Chelsea would unveil him or do anything like that tomorrow in front of the pitch. Yeah, I just think would be insensitive.
It's Chelsea.
Yeah, I know, but new owners, I don't think Tuchel's down to that. Or
you know what? I would say the hassle, just to be an arsehole towards Fofana, I would drag it out, send it over the email. I'd get carrier pigeon to make sure the deal's not done until after we play Chelsea, just so they can't spite us by doing that.
Yeah, and I think they probably, will understand that. However, if he was there, let's say, in a jump or whatever and he came up on the big screen, I would boo him like mad.
Oh yeah.
And when he comes back, because obviously we're away at Chelsea, so if he comes back to Leicester as a Chelsea player for the return leg, my God, I would boo him from here to Kingdom Come. I don't think I could boo Mahrez, but Mahrez did a lot for us. Fofana hasn't done anything for us at all.
No, and it's only the end of their times at Leicester that's matched up really. Look, Fofana's talent. I'm not going to sit here and suddenly say he's this, he's that, and in terms of as his football and ability go, I mean, I'll be the first to admit I was gushing and waxing lyrical about him, wasn't I? So I'm not. I've always said I'll never sit here and suddenly turn, but yeah, when he plays against us, he's going to get booed. Yeah. He knows that. He knows he's burned that bridge. He knows that's the outcome. Whether it's this season or next, it doesn't matter when it happens or what club. I mean, we're 99.9% certain it's Chelsea unless something drastic happens in the next couple of hours. But yeah, two things. I'd want it to go past the point where he's still not a Chelsea player by the time we've kicked off and they can't announce it just to spite at us. Because Wesley would. He'd tweet it. Yeah. He'd tweet it 2 minutes. 2 minutes before them players leave the tunnel just to mess with the rest because he seems that sort of a rat as a person. It's shamefully come about because he seems like such a lovely lad. Seemed to always have a smile on his face, to always enjoy training. Seemed to be committed. We feared that he might be the one that would look at his contract and do the same as Tielemans. He signed a new deal. And it hurts. I have to admit, it does hurt. I think as a Leicester fan to feel this sort of betrayal from this player because it's such a sour way to have a player end their time at Leicester when you consider, it even feels worse than Mahrez in a way because at least Mahrez kind of realised the owner's formality on his transfer win, threw his toys out his pram and then got on with it. He didn't do any antics and mind games, to my knowledge, Mahrez. He just threw his strop. At least he was really public and not snide like Wes is being right now. No,
I mean, to me, the sort of three different sections to when players leave the club. Four. You've got the normal. Somebody puts in an offer. We say okay, and it's done and dusted straight away. You then got the Harry Maguire, and I think it was quite pointed that the way that Brendan reacted to that question and saying, "No, this is nothing like that. He was a gentleman till the end, Harry, and all that." So you can leave that way. Just mention that, Yuri, and then there's the Mahrez way, which yes, he was a bit of a shit at the end. He went on strike, but he had mental problems. It was that early act of, sit on the floor at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, But then when it didn't happen then, he did come back and play for us for a bit. And he had got, in fairness, as with Kante as well, who couldn't wait to leave, he had got some actual, credit in the bank with us. Now,
he does.
For me, Fofana, he hasn't done anything. Let's be honest with you. What has he done since being at the club? He has scored a few goals. He's had some good games. That's what he's paid to do.
Agreed.
I mean, I don't think he was in the FA Cup team, was he?
He came on for Johnny Everton. He always did the other way around or something like that. I can't remember.
But nothing really, to my mind, that would make me... If Mahrez came in now, I would at least respect him. But I haven't got any of that for sort of, Wes Fofana at all. But, But
I said, in retrospect, he's just a really talented footballer. He's not, like you said, he's not achieved and helped us achieve things in the way that Mahrez did or Kante did. And you know what? Both of them, we kind of maybe knew it was happening. Mahrez, we knew we had a talent, and this is what we knew was possible. Because at that point, even though we'd won the league, we were a team that had only just returned to the Premiership. So we were a bit of an easier target. And let's be honest with you, as much as I do agree with you that Kante couldn't wait to leave as soon as the 5,000 to 1 was complete. I think Leicester signed him already knowing that, whether it's right or wrong. We did see
he had the get out clause in.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'm sure he didn't hand his BMW back.
Oh yeah, of course. But also, I mean, the only thing that I will give a grace towards Kante, which I think is why it's appreciated, is Chelsea did still try to undercut Leicester by not paying what the release clause was for them, and Kante said, "Look, I'm happy to leave, but at least give the club what they deserve for me." And I will always give him credit for that because he was honest. And I think that's the same with Maguire, isn't it? At least we got honesty with them, and that's it.
Yeah.
So this is why this
with Mahrez as well. He, like I say, not only did he have that credit in the bank, he'd been with us. Was it 5 odd years?
Yeah, championship days.
Yeah,
championship days as well.
So he'd done his time, if you like, and I've got just to say on Monday night at 9 o'clock, I've got Rob Tanner on, and like I said the other day, if none of you have read it yet, I'm going to be going through it with him on Monday night at 9 o'clock. He's written a great piece, and I'm sure we'll obviously have more to talk about once all this is done. But yeah, hopefully we've now got 5 days, 6 days in which we can go and buy somebody. We've got somebody in mind. Who is this Borussia Dortmund defender?
It's a name that was mentioned.
Manuel Akanji.
Yeah, it was a name that was actually mentioned to me when I did my transfer show. That apparently we were looking at him as a number one target to replace it.
Yeah,
which tells you if and there's been several tweets and whatnots about this particular player, and that tells you that, and all the values seem to be around the same, that Leicester could get him for around anywhere between 25 and maybe up to 40 million. So that tells you that if Leicester are going to get what they're going to get for Wesley Fofana, that they're going to get the majority of that to go out and spend on this one player. So it's like for like, because that's what Leicester need to do. They haven't really got anybody there that they probably want to promote.
27.
He's experienced.
He's experienced, exactly. In Dortmund, they do have, well, look what they've done with Jordan Sancho, look what they're doing with Jude Bellingham. They do develop the young talent, not unlike Leicester. He's available for around 20 million, so we're immediately banking at least 50 million there. Or we can loan him. I hope we don't loan him, because I'm getting fed up with these loans that we have, and then we just get used to the player and we don't sign him. If they only want 20 million for him, we've got to go out and buy him. But it's just saying.
And maybe if they do bring in a player for it and do a like for like, and Brendan gives us the assumption that it is like for like, he's going to get thrown into that first team, and that's what his plan is.
Yeah.
Then, without saying it, I hate to say it, because I like the fact that someone wants to fight for the place at Leicester, and I always appreciate them trying to do their best when they put on a Leicester shirt. But it may convince the likes of Vestergaard that if a club comes calling, maybe take that cut that he's obviously happy to take or whatever. And then we know where we are as a settled 4 quadrant of centre backs available to the club.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we need
Facebook user, I know he won't be in the same right frame of mind. He won't even be here by the sound of it now. That was just how would people react to him question.
Yeah.
Hi, Phil Fox. Jolly good evening. Good evening as well. And if it is jolly, I've got to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever been so happy to see a player leave, apart from probably Dennis Wise. But
yeah.
And we're going to, like I said, if we get 70 odd million for him, let's just pass him on, because we're going to have the same trouble in January, same trouble in the January after. And I saw a thing this morning on Sky on the breakfast show, and there was a woman that was being interviewed, and she was saying that she thought we'd handled it as well as we could have done. And they said, well, he is in a 5-year contract, so if the club does want to play hardball, then we can do. But we've got to kind of look to a point where let's just get rid and move on. It gives us some money. It means we can go and buy a couple of players that want to play for us.
I mean, I would also go out on a whim and say that their third offer was 65 plus, I think, about 10 million in add-ons to boost it up. And I wonder I mean, the reported fee is apparently 75 million with add-ons. Now, I would assume that if it is going to come with add-ons, that Leicester have just said, look, if Chelsea have just kind of caved a little bit, and so have Leicester, they've kind of met them in the middle and gone, okay, we'll give you 75, and there's every chance he's going to get 10 caps for France or something like that. Anyone that plays football manager knows what sort of clauses you can add on to deals to make it sweet in the pot. So if Leicester feel that's more reasonable and achievable, then they're going to see that extra 10 million. I agree with you. Take that now. I don't mind a deal like that. If you're going to just kind of go, all right, you want to be pedantic, give us 10 million and make it realistic that we're going to get it, and we'll take 75 in cash. Thank you very much. Fuck off for 5.
Yeah. And you could, I mean, if they've got any sense, they will have a sell-on clause added in as well.
Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? 10% of a sell-on clause.
I did actually say, and we had, you know, Ankit, of course, from Almighty Blues, Chelsea fan. He did the preview show with us last night before the press conference. And I said to you in the press conference show that I did say to him, be warned that, you know, there's always a bigger fish out there. And as big as Chelsea are, if a Barcelona or a Real Madrid or you know, Bayern Munich come knocking, you know, they might have this same problem. So
they'll be doing the same. Especially if Chelsea have a couple of bad seasons. Especially if Chelsea have a couple of bad seasons and get like back-to-back Europa League or something. And Real Madrid keep winning their titles and Barcelona. Because I mean, look at the Barcelona situation. Imagine if they collapse and Real Madrid kind of do a Spanish Celtic and dominate because Barcelona go bust and it all goes wrong for them in the next couple of years. Oh, guess what, Chelsea? Enjoy that in 3 to 4 seasons when it does the same to you like he did to Etienne for us.
Yeah. David says here, some may say you have to forgive but not forget, but for me, I can't forget the money he is on. And so considering that, I just think he's been a pertinent French. I'm not a fan of the French. I'm going to be honest with you anyway, but it kind of sums them up for me, you know. And as they said on Sky this morning, he was happy to stay at the club while we looked after him. We nursed him. All right, he got injured playing for us, but you know, he was happy at that point when he wasn't playing football to think, oh, I better sign a bloody contract. I don't know what I'm going to be playing, you know. But anyway, if you got any questions, get the questions in. Like I say, that went on a bit longer than I hoped, but we always start off with a general question that I ask to get it going. But get your questions in. Facebook user, he'd need to score an important goal to be forgiven. Paul G, I bet he's praying this deal goes through. He ain't going to be wanting to face the fans or with the under-20s. He won't. Correct, that bridge has been blown up and he will simply have to accept he screwed up. Would have been better for him to have gone overseas to a Real Madrid or PSG so he wouldn't have to see him. Done deal for Wes. Say what you want, but the modern-day player will always hold the power in these situations. Have you noticed that the two players have played their first football in France? It's a French thing with us. What did I just say? He's been a very good defender for us, to be fair, but Fofana, as you say, really hasn't done anything special that we could point to. Sad for him to end up this way, but it shows many of them have zero integrity. David, it's nothing but greed. Do you think we'll get a player from Chelsea in the deal? I gotta be honest with you. Hudson-Odoi, is it that's available? Would you take him?
I might. I don't know. It all depends where his head's at because he's very close to falling into that category of young, sprightly players that burst onto the scene and then fade away, and then they just can't generate what they showed all that promise in when they were 2 or 3 years younger. You know, like Dele Alli, look at his career and a few others. And he's not been in the spotlight since he kind of threw his toys out at Chelsea. Kind of in the reverse way, because obviously he wanted to leave Chelsea for first team football. Normally they're going there to, you know, seems to further your career in this case. But I don't know. I mean, take the risk, I guess, if we could get him and he's, you know, he's still going to cost 75 million for Fofana. You can chuck him in for and say, there's your 10 million. I'd take it. To get it to 85. But I'd only do it if it's that. I wouldn't be looking at 20, 25 or more because he's not really done much about football recently, has he? To my knowledge, unless someone's going to tell me, oh well, Brad, he was out on loan, but I haven't seen much of him in terms of at this level and quality. So yeah, if he's part of the plus 75 fee, then yeah, but if not, I'm not keen on the idea.
No. I mean, all it would mean is that we would get another player, so we've got more options, etc. But it depends who it is. You know, when Arsenal were talking about throwing some players in, it was their cast-offs, if you like. And all right, they're all cast-offs in a way, but I just think Chelsea maybe got a better standard of cast-offs. A question here from David. It's a very good point, and I'll give my thoughts and then let you have a go at this one, Brad. Do you think if we get new signings, that means we give Brendan more time, even if we don't do well over the next few games? As I say, I was up early this morning because I had to get my car down to the local garage, to Vauxhall Garage, to have its annual MOT. And the sales manager, the big guy who runs the place, always comes over and talks to me because he remembers me from when I worked at the local paper and advertising and what have you. And he's a Southampton fan. Now, it has been fun, I must admit, for a while, enjoying that 9-0, but I do think they've probably got it back now on aggregate over the last few games. And he was asking me, we were actually sat there talking, never gets any work done for about half an hour about football. But I actually made the point then that when I come off a performance like Stockport, which basically, you know, we scraped through, we should have won that game, or like Southampton where we were up and we lost it again, I sit here and think, what the bloody hell does Brendan, does he know what he's doing? And, the guy said, well, Hussenhall, he does make some strange substitutions. I said, yeah, you and our manager both. But when I then go and read things like Rob Tanner has put out on The Athletic, it does make me think the other way, if you like. So whilst I was always, and you know me from last season, I was always, let's give Brennan another season. Let's, see how he goes. And then earlier on this week, I was very much sort of, he's got to go. Monday morning, knock on his door, give him his P45, kick him out. And yet now I'm back to, well, actually, it might not be all Brendan's fault. It might be worth giving him time, because if he does stick to this plan, and like I say, I don't want to end up like a Barcelona with loads of players that we sign, but we can't play because we've got more than we're allowed to sign for the Premier League squad. I don't want to end up like Leeds, gambling on us getting into Europe and going bust and dropping down the divisions. And I'm just thinking, if the long-term plan, which is getting this guy in from Southampton, who's supposed to be very good, in fairness, Martin Glover, and you said this the other day, didn't you? Maybe waiting to get the right man is better than getting a man in now that isn't as good. And if this set-piece coach sorts his visa out, maybe it's all part of getting the club back to where it is.
I mean, yeah, you'd think that's what the owners are hoping, especially as well. They're probably thinking, well, unfortunately, we know he's pieces of the jigsaws. There's been some frustrating times getting a couple of the pieces of jigsaws that he's told us, we'll kickstart pushing Leicester forward and get them back on track with their progress. It's not his fault. It is a little bit out there, but the problem also, it's not like that's just the only problem. I would understand if it was like quality's a bit low, we need to upgrade the qualities, and then you look at this and go, oh, fair enough, it's out of his hands, really. He really has been trying. This isn't Brendan's fault, etc. and blah, blah, blah. But, he, like we also said, for the last 6-8 months, we've been a little bit bored of Brendan keep telling us that it's we've got to pick up the pace when we're on the ball. Well, you're training them, Brendan. You are telling them. Whilst I agree, he maybe gets a stave of execution, as they would say. I don't think he's got too much longer to turn this around. I know everything will be taken into account when it comes to the owners dismissing him. You said, God rest him, but you said when Pearson was rumoured to be sacked, that it was the son that stepped in and said, bear with him. He can whatever, and he shows good faith, and I still want him gone if this is how he's going to make us play football. I still want him gone if he's going to make this his new stubborn favourite toy to determinedly stand by and play, and not give them the complete shackles off freedom and not make that team fear going in front. I don't think he's going to get stay over execution because of the quality of opposition we're playing and the things that have been out of his control. And he's going to have, like Mahrez did in what we were talking about earlier, but he's going to have that little bit of a soft spot in case of what he's achieved since he's been here, what he's brought to the football club. He's going to have a little bit of compassion in that sense. But after them games, if it's not changed in the next 3 or 4 after that, mate, I'm still wanting him to be replaced, I'm afraid. And unless that changes, I'm going to stick by that. And if I change it and he carries on for the season, fair play, Brendan. Finally, you gave up being a stubborn jackass, in my opinion, in terms of how he gets his play. Because you can't come out and say we're too slow when clearly you train us to play too slow. Me and you know it, don't we? We know we're going to dominate for 60 minutes. He's going to make subs, and then we're going to go backwards. So,
but he's obviously got something about him, because we saw that he'd got that at, when he first came in. Or is it a case of like Ranieri, who had a 1 year or a 1 season high, and then he slowly dropped off, as he did when he came to us? And has Brendan just got that 3 years, in him, and then he maybe needs a new challenge? He came out and he admitted that he enjoys the bringing new players in and the refreshing, and he is sort of a buy-in sort of manager. And we discussed whether the club have sort of hung him out to dry a little bit. But if he does get us through this, I understand now, having read that bit, and hopefully people, if they don't subscribe to the Athletic, tune in at 9:00 on Monday to watch and ask Rob Tanner any questions. I think when I read that, and it is a case of who would we get, I think, and this is the problem. And we're all saying, Poch might come back, he's got unfinished business, but that is the big problem, isn't it? Who would we replace him with?
Well, that we could determine this till the cows come home, and I'm sure people would. Any suggestion we throw out, someone would have a reason why he wouldn't come to us, or they wouldn't come to us, or whoever we threw out to name. But the thing is, it's always something that's in the back of the club's mind. They're going to look at this testing period, and they're going to know that if things get worse, they're going to say this is a point where we have to then maybe consider Rodgers, but we have to look at who's out there. And look, you won't know until or if that time comes where, say, maybe Leicester are 17th and they've got 4 points out of 6 games, and we're really looking in trouble, and we've not recovered from the sale of Fofana, and Tielemans looking bad in terms of how he's playing, his form, etc. And it's not looking great. The owners ain't going to be afraid, because we know their structure is tight on what they can do in terms of bringing players in and out. But I don't mean they can't fork out something if they feel it's hugely necessary to save the club. They will invest that money and do what's necessary to pay off Brendan and bring someone in. But
hopefully they will use some of this money to get a player in. Highfields Fox has just said 82.5 million accepted plus add-ons. I don't know, but I'm just looking at Fabrizio's here, and he said Wesley Fofana has been key for this move. He only wanted to follow his dream and join Chelsea. It was funny, but somebody posted, and you don't know how true these things are, because obviously with Photoshop and everything these days, but apparently Real Madrid is his dream. So, or Paris Saint-Germain, Paris Saint-Germain is his dream. So, And then I've just got Fabrizio here saying Chelsea prepare a new proposal for Wesley Fofana. It will be around 75 million, still deciding the add-on structure. Deal still on, though, through intermediaries, other people. Leicester waiting to receive the new bid to decide, as Fofana only wants Chelsea. I mean, like I say, for 75, for God's sake, for 5 million, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I never thought I'd say this about my club. For 5 million, to let him go,
No, it's fine. Wait for the 82.5, I'll say, just to be an awkward club You know, because why should we let him treat us like that? And like you said, he's like one of them. It's like when even if they're your favourite comedian, it's like when a comedian goes, "Oh, this is my favourite city to perform into." And you're like, "I've heard that for the last 3 DVDs, mate. Stop talking out your arse." Chelsea, it was not. It was PSG, like you said, and Real Madrid before he chose us, and then obviously it was a great move to come to Leicester.
Yeah. It's been Neil Maupay has signed for Everton. I think I just read, and I can't find it now, it's a 5-year deal. So that means he'll be moving on in a year. Terry says, once I've made my mind up about anything, I stick with it. So sorry, Rodgers has had his day now. Move over and get some fresh thought into the manager's job. David Hirschwich, it's 800. Good evening, David. How are you? 82.5 million euros, which probably is about 75 million.
Yeah, it's probably about that, though.
Yeah. Terry says, by the way, last 34 games played, we've won 11. Yeah, okay. But then a lot of those last 34 were last season when we didn't have a proper team because of all the injuries. So now I'm gonna ask on this, because Paul mentioned this before, and I agree with him. I probably would do, but I'm going to ask you a question. He says, I'll take Kanté back. I don't think Chelsea would let him go. Oh, I don't know. There's been rumours about him going. I don't know if I asked you this the other day, whether you would take Harry Maguire back. I actually would, because, I mean, I know Chelsea fans have been up in arms because they might be, if you don't get Fofana, they might get Maguire. I don't think he'd come back. But when he was at Leicester, he was whatever he is playing like he's playing now, he wasn't like that when he was at Leicester. He was good for us. Whatever has happened, and it's not just him. Look at Ronaldo. Look at, all these players, Man United, they've ruined so many players over these last few years. If they said, came to us and said, look, he's available for 20 million, I'd snap their hand off. I mean, they won't, obviously, but I would have him back in a flash.
Nah, see, this is where you play it smart. What you've got to do now is you've got to make a play called the Paul Pogba. And what you do is you sell them a player for about 80 million that they really, really want, and then you wait for his contract to run out and you take him on a free, and then in 2 years' time after that, you're selling him back to 80 million. That's what you got. That's what Leicester got to do if they want Harry Maguire back. Look, in all seriousness, would I take him back for the right price? It wouldn't bother me if he played in a Leicester shirt again. He left on decentish terms. I don't think there was any bad blood spill. Yeah, obviously we gave him stick when he played for us. I mean, come on, he played for us literally. He played for Man United literally, the week after he bloody signed for them. He was always going to get stick, and we was always kind of go, well, we didn't need you anyway, sort of thing. Which, to be fair, he didn't light the world up. He was a solid enough defender and a good player for us. For no more than 40 million, so they can get half the money back on that receipt they've been held on to. Yeah, I might be inclined, but I'd rather trust the system to look at this defender that's 27 and apparently viable to come in. He comes with quite the experience from my understanding. So yeah, I'd rather go down that route than Manchester United probably would try and get, especially if it's Leicester, they're going to try and get more. Of course, more out of it. We stitch them up for him.
Especially knowing that we've got 70 million quid in our pockets. Yeah. And of course, there was always the argument that are they ever as good when they come back? That's the thing. I mean, Terry says here, and please, I've just said there, please do get your questions in for us. The idea of this show, it's your show. I'm coming up with questions here because we're not getting too many in the chat. So if you've got any questions about Leicester or football in general, please ask them, put them in the chat, and we'll get round to them. Terry says here, well, at least when Kanté left, he left on such a good note. He popped back now and then to see his old teammates. I don't agree with that, Terry. I hated Kanté when he left because he couldn't wait, and he wait. I bet his BMW still had petrol in the tank by the time he'd signed for Chelsea. That's how quickly he went. It took him about nearly just short of a month to write a letter back. And then it didn't even say, it was, I am so grateful to the Football Club of Leicester. No, it's Leicester City Football Club. Now, whether he wrote that with his agent, get it, that shows no respect for the company at all, for the club, sorry, at all. So, no, I wasn't impressed with Kanté when he left. But obviously, over time, it's mellowed and what have you. Like you said, so I don't know what your thoughts are on Kanté, but yeah, I definitely have him back. It's certainly left on a better note than Mahrez or Fofana are.
I mean, honestly, this might sound like a shock, but I wouldn't take him back. I think we struck gold with the closest replacement to Fofana with Wilfred Ndidi. Now, yeah, I'm not saying that they're on the same level as talent, but Wilf's got a few more years on him than Kanté has. And to be honest with you, these dime a dozens to replace, you're blessed if you're able to get close to these sort of talents that come in. And yeah, basically, I just wouldn't. I like Kanté. I like what he did, and he's a talented player. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm happy with Wilfred Ndidi. Like I said, we're going to have the same problem with Vardy. We're going to high him on such a high pedestal that he might seem irreplaceable to a lot, but I think that's the bangest up job we've done. We talk about Mahrez has been not easy to replace. We obviously clearly, from what we've heard, missed out on a chance to replace him with Lookman and finally find that settled. We still, even with Nacho and Daka, aren't certain if we're going to have a replacement or two replacements ready to do the job for when Vardy does retire in like 2046. Indeed, he's been absolute class since the day he joined. So I'm more than happy to keep him now, and I wouldn't want him to lose his place to Kanté.
There's always a thing, like I've just said before, is when players come back, for me, I would look at Kanté and I'd be saying, well, if Kanté's back, we're going to win the league again. If you are comparing, I know we wouldn't, but for me, when you're looking at the players and you are looking at, okay, what did they do when they were last with us, right? Could that be repeated? No, it won't, and that's the problem. We would always be saying, well, he's not as good as he used to be. But just taking up your point on Ndidi, I would have Kanté over Ndidi 12 times out of 10.
So, see, I wouldn't, because at least he's been loyal. At least I wouldn't be afraid of Kanté deciding to go and have a swat at Wilfred deciding after 2 seasons back at Leicester that, suddenly PSG want me. I'm off, see you later. Wilfred's showing that he'd stick around. There's been times when he's been talked with moves to Liverpool and he's not batted an eyelid. He's focused on Leicester. I look at this in a whole rounded situation. Honestly, if Kanté came back within 2 seasons, he could go for 1 year or 2 seasons at PSG, and he'd be like, "See you later, I'm off." I don't think Wolf would do that to us. I do think Wolves are one of a very limited good bunch when it comes to commitment to a club.
And I just think sometimes, though, I think he got compared to Kanté when he joined, and he did have an excellent first season, but I think as well, Kanté, when he came to us, and this is what I'm saying about when you find out more about things, then, you kind of soften your approach a little bit. But, for me, as much as I didn't like the way he left, he had that written into his contract when we signed him.
Yeah.
So in fairness to the guy, it's like, when we went and said, here's 30 million for Perez, whether Newcastle wanted to keep him or not. And looking back, they probably were like, seriously? Yes, please. No, I jest. I said I wasn't going to do that this season. So I just wanted to read something out there. This was quite interesting that I read earlier, and I did tweet it. I don't know if you saw it at all, Brad, but after Arsenal agreed to farm out Nicolas Pepe on loan to Nice, an extraordinary pattern of transfer activity was completed this summer. it meant that Manchester United, Chelsea, Tottenham and Arsenal have all allowed their club record signings, who cost a combined £313.5 million, to depart without a single penny recouped in transfer fees. There was little surprise that these four members of England's Big Six have been left trailing in the wake of Manchester City and Liverpool in recent seasons with such haphazard and shambolic recruitment. And I know before anybody says, yeah, Slimani, I'll go 30 million right off on him. But I mean, if that was a business, you'd be out of business, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And to be fair, the book kind of stops at the club with Chelsea's one, doesn't it? I mean, he never really seemed too interested in his return. Before the plane had even touched down, touched down in London, airport, he was already texting into Milan like a lost ex saying, "I miss you, I want you back." But he made them videos and comments, didn't he? So that was a train wreck for them. And these clubs sometimes are a master of their own downfalls. I mean, I said it in my show about Pogba. How do you let someone, bad enough letting someone go for free? All right, they're a youngster. You might miss a trick. Maybe they should have listened to Fergie, whatever. But when you buy him back for 80, how do you let him go for nothing? That's just bad business. That's just the Glazers and how little of a SHIT they give for the club. And I do feel sorry for Manchester United fans with the Glazers situation. I'm not saying that this isn't towards fans, this is towards the club in general. But them two clubs have shot themselves in the foot. It's not how, that is embarrassing, bad ways to do your business, and you reap what you sow. At least I have to spell that. Just at least I have to write that up, because I couldn't spell it, but I can say reap like that. I don't read what I say.
I'm just gonna jump on to Terry's comment here, then I'll go back and catch up a few questions. Well, first of all, Scott says, I agree with you, Brad, about Kante. Also, look at Mendy, how he has been at signing a deal when he really rarely gets a game. I want to make this point about Terry. It says, here's his question. I'll say, I'll have a go first, and then I'll pass it over to yourself to tear it to bits. Do you think Top is struggling now when money not so readily available pre-COVID? I'm thinking about the decision of the cost of a match day ticket. Surely Vichai would not do it, i.e. is Top himself a little bit out of his depth. Now, for me, no, not at all, Terry. How many clubs in we came up from the Championship and we did not put the price of a season ticket up. How many clubs would do that? Not many, I wouldn't guess. We then didn't have a price increase on tickets for 6 or 7 years. How many clubs have done that? And yet now, I'm not saying you are, Terry, but a lot of people are moaning because we've put the price up. But it is post-COVID. I'm sorry, the cost of fish and chip takeaway at my local has gone up since that because they lost a lot of money. I mean, what is it's something like £4 a game or something like that. I'm not being awful. After 7 years of having no price rises, I think that is I think you can turn around and say, thank you. Pay for the beer. I tell you what, next time you get a free beer or whatever, you just put a little quid in the donation tin or something. Plus, Top isn't out of his depth. You said earlier, and I said before, it was Top that convinced his dad to let Nigel Pearson stay. If Top hadn't done that, would we have got, had that season where we went through and got promoted? Probably not, because a new boss would have come in and changed everything round. And Top has got to, and as much as I am critical of him for not, or the club for not coming out and backing Brendan and saying stuff, which was what they actually also said on Sky this morning. I'm thinking, I said it first. But, he's got King. If King Power fails, Leicester City fail. It's as simple as that. Yeah. I've been there. Like I said, I worked for a travel company. We were making money, but we were owned by a leisure group that included casinos, etc. And they were losing money, and we we went bust because they went bust, no matter how much money we were making.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Terry does say here, I'm not bothered, I'm just dreaming up questions to discuss. No, brilliant, Terry. We do appreciate it. And that's why I said I wasn't blaming and saying that this was you, but,
But to be honest with you, though, I kind of agree and disagree with Terry at the same point. I do agree with you. I don't think he's, in over his head on a lot of things in terms of running their business, keeping the King Power business going, turning a profit. I think I do think, though, despite his experience, he's still young. He's still learning to take over the reins from his father, God rest him, and that's not an easy task. That's not an easy thing to do. And I think he's very fortunate, like we are blessed as a club to have them as owners, that he's got a lot of support and guidance around him. And he's still working off his father's blueprints, which is why we're pushing for expansion of the stadium. We're pushing for a hotel to be built and that design plan. And I think he's very fortunate that he's got that in play that's going to help him for the next 3 or 4 years of running this club and getting better at running this club. And I'm not saying he's not good at running this club, but what I'm saying is there is still departments that even he would admit they're a little bit over his head, that he's maybe left other people well alone with in charge. Were you in charge of this before my dad passed away? Brilliant. For now, until I learn more about it, I don't want to stick my nose in on something I'm not an expert in. He's still new to this. He's still new to this world. No matter if he was learning from his dad at a young age, he's still new to being a business owner, an owner of a club. And I do agree with you in the fact that he's not over his head in running the King Power. Most certainly not. He's doing a tremendous job to get that company back on track. And like you said, your local chip is putting 40p on a bag of chips extra. What are you expecting these to do as a business? You can't have good owners and not have to stick around. But in some aspects, he would admit he might be over his head. But he's got a great working connection with the family he has and the staff that he has that will help him through them times.
We must remember that when we're saying top this, top that, top the other, and I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm probably going to pronounce this totally wrong, and I apologise. I know he's not watching, but if he was, is it Awat? His younger brother is there to help him. He's now vice chairman. So in the running of King Power and running of all these other things, it is a family concern. So he is the figurehead, if you like. And as much as Vichai was the figurehead when he was, God rest his soul, before he passed away, Top was really involved. I'd probably say Top ran it more than probably Vichai did in a lot of ways.
I mean, Top was definitely like the poster of the club, wasn't he? Because his dad, we know, didn't like really doing interviews, which is fine, which I loved about him. He just didn't want to take all the attention. I did look. We all loved that about him in that way. But lovely, but we have to remember that when you're just the front face and you're you're kind of like the word down from up top. Now you're no longer that. We're also still seeing him at games, but we saw them both at games anyway. But we're seeing a little bit less of him than we probably saw when he was being his father's understudy and learning the business. And this is what he's got to pick up on. And like you said, his brother's in now. I'm sure their mother is still very much involved. So
his sister is as well. I think there's quite a few that are sort of on the board.
I mean,
the owners and it should be. So it's not.
Talk about a family-run club.
Yeah, it is a family collective that is kind of running. Although, like we say, Top is the figurehead, if you like. And as I say, if it means that we have to tighten our belts for a season, maybe even 2 seasons, and we come out at the bottom at the end of this with still a football club to support, then I will be happy. In Top, we trust, as they say. I don't want to be like a Barcelona, like I say, where we've got all these players and they're having to sell off bits of their empire to pay for that. I don't want to be like Leeds, risking everything to get into Europe, and when we're failing to do so, having to sell players off, and go and basically go bust. We've been bust. We know what it's like. Once, twice we've been bust, you know. And then I don't want to be a Derby, you know, who risked everything and basically put the kitchen sink in the family house and his daughter's hand on getting into the Premier League. Not happening. And look where Derby are now. So
not even Derby will be Derby right now.
Yes, exactly. Scott says here, which players do you think will leave by the end of the window? And then I've just written down here earlier, I said, wouldn't it be funny if Fofana goes and Tielemans doesn't? Because Arsenal have come out and said, that's it, we're not buying anybody else now. Possibly. So,
well, yeah, we've heard that before. I don't think there's any names out there that haven't already been spoken about. Samore was apparently understandably left out the squad because he's going to Monaco, or that deal's being done behind the closed doors while they fully focus on this Fofana scenario right now. But that's going on kind of hush silently in the background sort of thing. Vestergaard, especially if the rumours are out and that we're going to use this Fofana money to kind of 50-50 between the club and replacing him. Vestergaard, maybe someone like Brunt going on loan, but I feel like Brendan would like to keep Brunt around to keep, developing and experiencing the first team action. Time will tell. But yeah, apart from the usual names, I really can't see anybody else being shipped on in this window. And to be honest with you, I think it'd be really funny. I was talking to someone earlier, and I said, wouldn't it be funny with all these antics? Two things: if Tielemans suddenly at the end of the window announced he signed an extension with Leicester to put their mind at ease, and if Fofana, Chelsea played with Fofana still a Leicester player, we go and beat him 4-5-0, and Fofana just tweeted something like it was just banter. Because he realises I don't want to go to Chelsea. He starts regretting life actions. I don't know, but that one was more in jest. But yeah, it would be weird, wouldn't it, if come September 2nd.
As the guy said when I was speaking to him this morning, he said we're only 3 games in, and it's a weird season already. And I think it is going to be a weird season. It is going to be a long season. As I say, let's hope this gets sorted out. Maybe if Arsenal aren't going to come in, and Brendan might be saying now. I mean, I'm just looking what he's saying on Arsenal not expecting any more transfer signings this summer with Pedro Neto and Youri Tielemans deal stalling. You've then got Leicester Mercury, Leicester City hoping for Youri Tielemans' clarity amid Arsenal transfer talk. We'll see. I mean, I think at least Yuri's still playing for us, and at least although he's playing badly, but at least he's putting the effort in.
Do you know what? That would be really funny now, wouldn't it? How you mentioned earlier about Fofana being on the bench or whatever for Chelsea and Manchester United. But wouldn't it be really funny if after the Arsenal fans saying that, let's just say Fofana went obviously well before the Manchester United game. If at the Manchester United game, we announced Tielemans on like a 2-year extension, we got to post that out before kick-off.
That's
living the dream a bit, isn't it, mate? That's kind of wishful thinking.
That would definitely get old Filbert going. We're going to do some more questions, and we will do them straight after this.
Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Yeah, if you are new, please do press that subscribe button and smash the likes. We've got 8 likes and 19 in watching at the moment, so please smash those likes. It really does help with where YouTube placed the channel in trying to find out. And like I say, if you have got an odd couple of minutes and you've got nothing to do, why not nip over to footballcontentawards.com/voting, find the best new content creator section, which is top right, just out of interest, and stick in Leicester Till I Die in there. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, but it would make a big difference to even to get into the final few, you know. Be like the Oscars, I might have to buy a bow tie. I don't know. I know I'm not going to get that far, but I can be saving my money. So yeah, Scott is very much Brad, a fan of bringing the youth through. I've seen sort of these questions all the time that he, you know, is a great fan of that. You know, there's so many players that have gone out on loan. I mean, somebody's just gone out on loan again.
Brad Young, the goalkeeper.
Yeah. I didn't even realize we'd got another goalkeeper. You know, I mean, we must have a squad of goalkeepers.
Yeah, if I remember rightly, he's gone to the better Nottingham, hasn't he? It's a sort of thing. He's gone to the better,
the county side. Yeah, the Nottingham County rather than the Notts Forest.
Yeah. He's taken the lesser of two evils. He's gone to the Notts County.
But there is a lot of players leaving now on loan deals. And I think we've kind of, and I could be wrong here, we've seen Ward come through. Then, I mean, I know he wasn't through the academy, which meant that Iverson's come through. So it's given him the opportunity. We've seen Dewsbury Hall. We've seen Luke Young. I think the next batch are those that are currently going out on loan.
It seems that way, the way the club's been progressing them. I mean, Chilwell was the same when he was here. Barnes is a product of the youth. I know he's a bit older, but this still shows that, you know, the Leicester trend hasn't changed too much in terms of that. Yes, we've imported a few. You know, Wesley the Snake Fofana might be a snake, but he's 21 years of age. James Justin, not an academy product, but taken from Luton Town. It just fits the mentor. And again, you're looking at these players. You know, I would wonder, maybe Southampton, maybe the odd club or two around in the Premiership might say the same. But I would like to know how many fans feel that their club take an interest in and believe in promoting their own youth from within. I know there's a handful of clubs that seem to do it, but I'm not talking to someone who's got 400 youth players to choose from or class them as youth players like certain clubs might have. But, you know, maybe looking at like Everton's and players like that, it seems to be slowly being a trend. I'm glad we've set something like that.
And like, you know, but I think letting them go out and get that regular football only benefits us. I mean, look at Harvey Barnes when he came back from West Brom. He probably saved Quell's job that season, although obviously not for any longer than that. But, you know, I mean, I'm just looking here. We were talking about him before, Callum Hudson-Odoi at Chelsea. 21-year-old. He's a winger. He's fallen down the pecking order. And, you know, Alan Hutton, I think he's an ex-player, says it's important that Chelsea allow Callum Hudson-Odoi a loan transfer amid reported interest from Leicester City. He was left out of Thomas Tuchel's matchday squad in their opening game against Everton before being an unused substitute for the next two games. Although Newcastle, Borussia Dortmund and Southampton are also said to be interested. I mean, that would fit our mantra, wouldn't it? That would fit, you know, the fact that he's young, he's coming through. You know, again, I would say, you know, throw him in the deal.
I suppose. Well, look, I mean, I don't think it's even necessary to do that. No matter how awkward Chelsea have been when it's come to this current negotiation deal, if you look over our history of transfers, you would actually say we've got quite a decent, formidable working relationship with Chelsea when it comes to players. You know, Drinkwater, Kante, Chilwell. Is it from the other direction? You know, we look at the transfer actions and that over the years. I'm sure there's more as well. That just who I'm thinking of right now that we've either acquired or got through from Chelsea. I wouldn't be surprised if we sold them for Fofana, got the add-ons, and then turned around and maybe looked at Hudson-Odoi it would be an option. It's just, it all depends where he's at, because he's not, like I said to you, yes, he's 21, which will benefit him and give you more hope than that. But what was his name? Was it Musonda or something like that? Who was that? Was that Belgian that they had that was sort of the same, that they thought was going to be really good? And I think he was linked with signing for Leicester at one point. Someone they'd cropped the picture of him staying on the pitch and shaking down his hand when they used to go and walk out to the middle of the pitch. It was a Chelsea striker. Batshuayi, was it? Was it him? I might be thinking.
Well, Batshuayi could have been.
Yeah. I don't. We've seen, that was it, Michy Batshuayi. I think they might have had a player whose name I said earlier was the same Musonda. I'm sure he was like a winger. I hope he doesn't go that way.
Yeah. But
even though,
don't worry. If I don't read it out, it's just a general hi. How are you doing? I mean, I'm going to put this one up because Scott says, "Is there a vote for a granddad or dad jokes?" And well, you heard it before. It's given me the opportunity to play this, really, hasn't it? I'm watching too much TikTok, aren't I? That's my trouble.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidgen. Right. Then let's have a look at the next question. There we go. Do you think that if Daka, this is from David, do you think that if Daka comes good and gets close to levels that Vardy reaches, the better teams will know how to play versus him, just to know his 40th speed and not magical moments like Madders?
Yeah, I'm sure they will. But if you're going to become a very good footballer or better, especially in the Premier League, that when that time comes out, just like it's had to with Vardy, he will have to learn and develop his game to make that tricky. We said for a number of years, and a lot of opposition players and even ex-pros that have had to play against him and have been sick of him that much, they've clearly retired because of the trauma Vardy's caused them. Sometimes it's easy to see how to stop them. It's executing it that could be the problem. Vardy's pace, even at 35, is still something that defenders say it's easy. No,
but let's be honest though, Brad. I mean, any club we play that is worth their salt. Oh, I think you froze then, mate. I started because I thought you'd finished.
No, you're on my end, mate. Just your screen.
So I'd apologise then.
No worries, no worries.
If we're playing a team, if that team is worth their salt, they would have done enough work on our team to know what these different players will be bringing to the pitch, and they'll say, right, well, if they're playing Inacho, you need to be doing him. But if they play Daka, then he's going to play. So they'll know. And then it's like you say, it's up to the players to be able to adapt and move things around a little bit.
Yeah, but again, like I said, it's easy knowing how a person or a team's going to play when they make certain either changes at halftime or in game, or they line up a different way. They line up, it's easy for us to sit here and go, oh, right, Leicester are playing. Oh, God, Leicester are playing three at the back. Well, at least we know Castagne and Justin are going to be pushing up forward, because that's what Leicester do when they play three at the back. They're playing Nacho and Daka. Well, we know that Nacho's going to hold the ball. We know that. Chelsea, Man United, Newcastle, doesn't matter. They're going to know that. It's a whole different ball game, trying to stop the quality of player being able to execute what they want to do, because there's a reason they've lined up that, because they want to do that, and that's how they're going to try and score the goals and whatever. And it's the same for us. We could look at oppositions. We know what maybe Arsenal are going to do if they put Gabriel Jesus on. We're sure as hell saw it, so we should have seen it coming. Brian ripped us apart. We've dealt with it enough at Man City to have an idea how to get Arteta might get the best out of him. So I'm sure Brendan set up a game plan and the strategy to try and stop it. It just ain't that easy when it's a quality player, and they do that to you. And that's the counter argument. It's not as easy it's easy when it's on paper, but if the game's not played on paper, it's
Yeah.
played on the pitch, and sometimes
Exactly.
you outclass
Yeah,
your opponent.
they'll be ready for Dhaka though. They're worth the salt. Terry says
Yeah, of
here's
course.
another one. In view of our current league position, would you and Brad have reservations about expanding the stadium? You don't. You can never say we're not going to go down. I mean, I don't think we'll go down, but we've seen bigger teams than us go down. That said, we won't know until. I mean, there's supposed to be now a meeting in September that will give us the green light or the red light, whichever way they decide to go. I would say, for me, we've got to expand the stadium because we've got to grow organically, and that will affect the size of our stadium. Will affect the FFP. What we have to accept is though we're only adding 8,000 seats onto it or something like that, and when that is done, we are still only half the size of Old Trafford. So, we have to remember this. And I was reading, I think I read out to you yesterday, Brad, that if we do get into Europe, UEFA's FFP restrictions are a lot harsher than the FA ones are. So, we have to be careful. Now, whether we would then say, well, maybe we should put everything else on hold. But then again, at what point do you not? Because Arsenal were in this position last year and look where they ended up. The stadium itself would go ahead. If you're going to put anything on hold, I'd probably say it would be all the extras, the hotel and the arenas and the shops and all that.
Yeah, true. And again, to be fair, putting up to 40,000 would put us in the same bracket as Stamford Bridge and Goodison Park that have seen the test of time. Goodison Park as with that, and that's so. It's only the odd ground that would be meteoric rise in terms of attendance, jumping up from 40 to like 60, 70, 80s and 90,000 to whatnot. But, there's never a right time to do it, is there? Look what happened when we agreed to got our stadium plan for the King Power. What were Leicester doing? They were winning cups. They were getting to knockouts in Europe, weren't they? The qualifiers. We were top 10 side. We had O'Neill at the helm. We were like Hakuna Matata, mate. Don't matter. We need a new stadium. Brilliant. We're going to literally this season it was completed. We were playing in the Championship. You take that risk. If you want to expand the club, you've got to know that we're going to play. And like you said, no club too big to go down. We're never going to be comfortable enough to think we're not going to get relegated, even with what we've done in the last 3 seasons. It's just a case of you might as well do it because, let's say the worst did happen, the stability of the club and its finances situation and whatnot would A, probably mean that we'd be fine to bounce straight back up, and B, something to kind of come unstuck here is these contracts that we keep talking about saying, oh, we're priced in players that move. Well, you're not going to, a Championship player is going to want to keep his 100, his 80, 60 grand a week and not take a cut. So, but I don't think that's going to happen anyway. I still think we should go through with the stadium plan anyway, because I just, as much as I don't see it, I obviously can't rule it out, but I think this is the safest time you're probably going to get to do it, because this squad of players, even without Yuri and Fofana, and even without Brendan at the helm, someone else at the helm, should easily be comfortable this season.
Yes, definitely.
Regardless of how it started.
Yeah. Just wanted to go back in time a little bit. Those of you that remember sort of in the off season, I had a guest on, Mr. Rodri Giggs, who is obviously the brother of Ryan and is a big Manchester United fan. And he said at the end, I said, look forward to seeing, we'll meet you in the FA Cup final sort of thing. And he said, oh no, I'd be hoping for a stronger test than that. So I've just messaged him saying, "Worried about Thursday yet?" I'll let you know if he replies to me, because I don't think he may be as confident now as he was a few weeks ago. James said here, apart from Brendan Rodgers' future, what now for Leicester City this season? It will be interesting to see. On Thursday, we play Man United, and in why we are playing a game, we're the only club, well, obviously us and Man United, we are playing on deadline day, transfer window deadline day. I know it's BT and it's Sky, but But what the fuck are we doing playing? How can we do any deals if the manager and everybody else is hosting Man United? I don't get it. I don't get that at all. But
No, I don't.
It will be interesting after that, Brad. I think if
Yeah.
if we're saying like, well, once the window shuts and it all calms down, there'll be no sort of, we know whether we've got Yuri for another 6 months and all this, that, and the other, and that if we don't see an improvement, then I do worry because it seems like every time we put an excuse up, we don't, correct, ourselves, if that makes sense. But I mean, for me, I would be happy with a top 10 finish this year and a decent one, a decent run in one of the cups. And there's been a lot of, we've got Newport in case Mike's in the next round of the Caribou. There's a lot of Premier games, teams playing each other.
Yeah, it still worries me that we've got Newport in a third round of cup competition again, especially with how things are currently in terms of form and the strain between fans and the manager. In terms of the fans losing time and faith with Brendan, me and you being two new additions to that side of things. Not that Brendan's counting, I'm sure he's not, but I'm with you. If things don't improve once all the excuses have been dried up and drained, then I'll be a bit more concerned. But you'd feel that, people say, who would want to come? Why would they want to come to us? Well, you say, these managers recognise clubs for its history and what they've been doing recently. There's a lot of people that still talk Leicester up in a good way, saying they are trying to be and want to be a big club and they're very ambitious. We hear it all the time from our owners' mouths, well, through the person the messenger, don't shoot the messenger, but that's what they say, that the owners are keen to keep the ambition of the club. And I wouldn't be surprised if, it's like a transfer rumour, isn't it? People maybe laughed at the idea of Fofana going Chelsea at the start. Turns out we're being absolutely swindled by a scabby little French rat, but I'll say no more on Fofana. I hope we beat his new club 9-0. I'm not sour. But you could say the same about a manager who laughed when Ranieri got appointed. Okay, I know that's what everybody thought it was a ridiculous move and he was going to fail. But in terms of a big name and what he accomplished at Chelsea, it was still laughed at as like, no, some people were still saying, no way would you get him. And it's not, no manager's out the realms of possibility to a degree, but
it's like people saying, why would Poch come to Leicester? I mean, it was why would anybody go to any club? And it's a Premier League club at the end of the day. And when you sign for a club, I always thought, why do managers sign for Watford? Because they know that it's the worst job in football, or you're not going to be there very long. Exactly. And they know that if they go in and they fail, that will still come in because they're going to get a huge payoff. Mourinho could retire on, what he has earned in payoffs, let alone his normal wage. So, Poch could come to us, and if he came to us, I know that he would be coming for maybe 2 or 3 seasons max. He has got unfinished in the Premier League, but like I said, it's going to be an interesting season. David said, you recently did a show to improve on how, ideas on how to improve the atmosphere at games. We did. It was a DMU student who was doing it for his thesis. But do you feel that Leicester fans are generally just not as rabid as Liverpool or Everton, but without much encouragement, just seem to just be very loud? Well, first of all, I think you've got to say that they've got bigger stadiums than us, so they will be generating more noise. And when we moved to what was then the Walkers, I don't know why. Leicester's trending on Twitter, by the way. I wonder why. When we moved to the Walkers, that they said everybody chose sort of, half the singing section went here, half the singing section went there. I'm thinking like, well, why? Why wasn't sort of, one of the fan clubs, or play, fans consortium saying, right, let's say we all sit together, what have you. So I don't get that. And I don't think this sitting down makes any difference. I don't think getting rid of the clappers as much as one of his other ideas makes any difference. I think that was just saving £1 million a game or whatever it was. Probably not 1 million, but I can remember many a time when I went to Filbert Street and it was like a morgue. So I think it's just the size of the stadium and a winning team.
I think maybe it's also just been the Leicester way. I think we never shied away from that title as being the forever underdogs as a side, and it's not always pretty. We don't always play the prettiest eye-catching of football, and it was, as much as it was fast-paced, we didn't even play the most eye-catchingest of football when we won the league. And I know that sounds bonkers to say because we went on to win it, but it wasn't. It was nitty-gritty. It was getting stuck in. It was hitting teams on the break, scoring goals. It wasn't like we were doing flicks and tricks, and it wasn't like we had big name players at the club. We've always been quite humble throughout, haven't we, in that sense, in the sense of, yeah, we've had a Cambiasso come and go from the club here and there, but we've never reached them heights. And I'd like to feel that we're more focused on the game and we know what we're capable of, and old habits die hard. And maybe that's why we're not as boisterous as we were. I mean, it's easy to pick up on a great atmosphere when it's going well, but when when it's not going well, you feel it through the crowd. There's a reason the players insist that the crowd generates a 12th man, and we saw it last year, didn't we? When Leicester were playing nervous, and we were nervous where the next 3 points were going to come because we were on such a bad run, that when it finally did happen, the result wasn't met with a massive cheer, like, yeah, there's another win in the boot, woohoo, 6 on the bounce or whatever, when we were breaking the records like they were going out of fashion. It was met with a, oh, thank God for that. Oh, there's 3 points on the board. And that's what will happen if it happens, this weekend or Thursday or the weekend. Or whatever.
The 2 seasons, I think I could say when I actually thought the atmosphere was quite good at Leicester was one in the... when we won the Championship under Nigel Pearson, and the second one when we won the Premier League under Ranieri. What's the common denominator there? We were winning, and we were playing good attacking football. And you could argue that the Puel/Rodgers way of playing football doesn't get you excited, and no, it doesn't. Because you can only get excited if you are excited by something. But also, the other thing I would say is I can remember I didn't get a ticket to the FA Cup, so I couldn't go to that. But I went to the Community Shield. And having sat for nearly 2 seasons watching games on telly, where I'm having to watch it with fake fan noise because I just could not watch it without any background noise at all. It was just weird. It was like watching a training match at Seagrave. It seemed loud because suddenly he got all the fans back. But no, I just think we've never been the most vocal, have we, like you said?
No, and I think that has to be taken into account what you just brought in there. For a lot of people, even though they're managing to maybe get out and get to a game, it's still a little bit nerve-wracking being around it. And I know some people might snigger at that, but it's been a long few years of people, and you shouldn't snigger at that if you are doing it, because some people might be able to feel comfortable to get out, but you might notice that they're a bit rushed to the seat. They don't, maybe not staying down and talking like they used to. They want to just get there and watch the game and go home. They want to enjoy their day, but they're still getting used to being back in the crowd again. Like you said, that 9,000 or whatever it was that was at the Southampton in the semi-finals and that turned up throughout the FA Cup and the Community Shield, that was something that was surreal to us. It was like we'd never heard a crowd before because we'd gone so long without crowds being there. So
I remember one commentator actually said that the crowd were booing the referee, and he went, "Oh, it's great to have the crowd back."
He did. I remember that.
And the other thing as well, I go to Bournemouth, I go to Southampton because they're down here, to Brighton. I say all along the coast that I've gone to away matches at. And Burnley, when I used to go to Burnley, when I lived in Burnley and Leicester used to come, I used to go there. And it's amazing that when you're with the away fans, how often they actually do sing are you there? And, we can't hear you and all that. And you can't, because the away fans, because it's only, a tenth of probably the whole ground, they seem to make more noise because I can remember when we went to Southampton when we won. Okay, we won 9-0. Again, the clues in there, win. We sing a lot, but we never stopped singing.
Yeah.
As soon as one song finished, another. I lost my voice at the end of the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a thing to remember as well. It's not just us that are quiet. I think a lot of clubs are. But yeah, if you go to Newcastle, if you go to Liverpool, Man United, let's be honest with you, it's like a bloody library these days. And I don't know if Anthony's still in, but Arsenal always has been. I've heard more noise in a graveyard than I have at the Emirates. Even when you beat us 4-2, mate.
Yeah. But, and again, sorry, I was just going to add on to that people also forget there is a big difference between an away day crowd and a home crowd, because you go as a home crowd and a minority will be like the away end. They'll go out, they'll have a jolly up before the game, they'll get there and they'll get drunk and around just to have a good day. They're trying to remember football if they're lucky, but that's what an away end's like. Yes, there'll be a few going for the experience and won't be drinking or taking the kids or whatever, but the majority of the away end fans, they're out there to have a blast and lose their day. As a home fan, the pressure's on. You want to see your team win, and you're probably more focused on the game. And again, like you said, compactness of a couple of thousand compared to 20-odd thousand spread around singing. It's always going to sound louder because, natural ways of air sounds and how they work play a part as well.
Indeed. Don't forget, guys, I'm one off just making it 1.39. I'm on 1.389 at the moment. If you haven't subbed yet, please do press that sub button. The likes have gone up as well. I appreciate that. And if you are subbed, please do smash the likes, because it does help. Like I say, it does really help the algorithms about where people see us. The more likes we get, the more times we pop up and that, on people's sort of searches, and therefore obviously it is better for us. We'll answer that question about George Hurd straight after this.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris and Chums. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Pinterest. All you need for everything Leicester City FC. It's Leicester Till I Die TV.
All right, chum. Right, we'll get through these quickly now because we're going to an hour and a half, and I've realised there are a lot of messages afterwards. So, George Hurst is at Leicester. He's not out on loan at the moment. I don't know. I don't hear people raving about him like they used to rave about Harvey Barnes. Now, whether he's right down another league with Portsmouth.
There was a little bit of spark, maybe talk about him. I think some maybe have been expecting him to. Well, that's just not saying anything. There was maybe an expectation to go back out on loan, but the thing is, as well, you've got to remember you've got to care for your academy, and if you send all the great prospecting youngsters out, even if it is to a League Two side, you're going to leave your under 23s, bless them, in the firing lineup to get relegated, and that's not going to do your development any good. So you need to balance that end of things as well. You can't go sending 8 or 9 youngsters out all on loan, and even if you send like 4 of them, only some of them are going to get a chance to shine in that first team next season. And I think that's why we've got Brunt in the first team, and maybe why a few names that did okay out on loan last season are still staying with the under 23s, because it probably benefits them better to keep learning the Leicester way before a loan move.
And I think when you've been out, as George Hurst has, I've just closed the window, but I'm just trying to see. He was at Portsmouth 21-22. He was at Rotherham. He played 31 games for Rotherham in 2020-21. Just see what his goal scoring is like, because goals. Here we go. No goals in 32 appearances for Rotherham. But 19 in 46 for League One Portsmouth. But sometimes when you send these players out on loan, like you just said then, you've got to remember that they're signed to Leicester City. We're not like Chelsea where we can send 30 kids out on loan every season because we're just stopping people from, we're getting them to stop other people buying them. But, at some point you've got to say, hang on, have a season at Leicester. Let's have a look at your close hand now. You've had a season out on loan. Let's assess where you are. So I think this could be one of those seasons, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. And it could also reroute into next summer, them deciding that they want him to go out, but to no lower than a championship side. Because like you said, there's only so much you can learn from sending him out on loan. The player's going to gain from it, but what are you going to learn from it? Like you said, a season with the under-23s, and we'll see from there. He could go on loan to the championship in January or next season if he keeps progressing well.
Can I just say, I've just had a reply to one of my tweets about Fofana signing a contract with Chelsea, and somebody has replied, "Well, Fofana signing a contract means nothing, does it?"
No, he'll be going to Real Madrid in the January, Chelsea fan.
Yeah, somebody said there, I think it was LCFC Gray, two up front. That would be nice. I thought we were going to get that against Scunthorpe, but he stuck Inacho out wide a little bit. He also says we need to stay in the game as long as possible tomorrow and not collapse. Hopefully Madders is fit. I'm not hopeful on that one. I don't think he is.
I'd rather him not risk him either, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I said that.
Bang out of order. Yeah, playing deadline day. I don't understand it. Literally, it's every game next week, during the week, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And this is why we're doing the prediction show on the Monday at some unearthly hour. What time are we doing it? 6 p.m. I think we're doing it, aren't we? So, because those games, we're the only one that's on Thursday. Only the one game on the Thursday. All the others are Tuesday and Wednesday. And you can't say it's because we're not a big club because it's Man United as well. So,
yeah.
David says here, do you think that because we lack the first team squad physicality of a Huth or Morgan, that even with our team playing at their best, it would be too easy for other teams to push us around? We have said this a lot, haven't we? We need an on-field enforcer, if you like.
Yeah, I think every club can benefit from that, and maybe that's one thing we're all especially going to miss from Schmeichel is he's one that not to mess with and get on his wrong side of. You didn't want to upset him. And I think you knew if you did, and if you did, if you have that on the pitch and you can hear that, and Wesolowski style, you definitely get a handshake of it. Some clubs need it, but we have to go with what we have, and that's maybe why we counter it the way we do. The way we play for 60 minutes, I wish it was for 90, but we all have pipe dreams that never happen. But if we played like that we did for 60 minutes, for 90 minutes every week, I think we'd show that that's why what we lack in physicality and a bit of a nasty side and aggression, if you will, we make up for it by being a little bit too quick. Sometimes we can make oppositions look like the Coyote and we look like the Roadrunner. Yeah. So I do see how we negotiate not having that that mean streak in the dressing room.
Anthony's on about score predictions for Newport. To be honest with you, I'm not looking that far ahead because it depends how we're playing at the moment at that particular time. I don't think we're going to be on telly, which means we won't be able to see it anywhere again, like with the Stockport game. There's so many Premier League games. And somebody was saying, this is a big game for Newport. No, not big in Leicester up, but people can see Aston Villa and Man United and Liverpool. They can see those every week. They want to see the beauty of these cup competitions. Now, This is a good question from Terry. Were you both a bit surprised we didn't include some academy players in the Stockport match? Granted, fringe players needed game time. You know what? I think you're allowed in the Carabao Cup. You don't have to stick to the Premier League players. I know you don't in the FA Cup because of Watford last season. But I don't think you do in the Carabao Cup. But you know what? I think Brendan looked at that, and I didn't want him to play fringe. I wanted him to play and let's be honest with you, the fringe players struggled, but we've had a show about Stockport, them being up for it because of the type of game, etc., etc., etc. I think if he had put out a lot of academy players and we had lost, he would have been absolutely roasted. He was saved. I mean, Iverson not only saved the goals, he probably saved a lot of fire being sent Brendan's way. I think he had to go for a strong team because that was a must-win game for him.
Yeah, I think circumstantially it may have put Brendan's back up the wall on how strong a lineup. To be fair, I think he got the balance right. I was very happy. Before it was announced, I think you put out a tweet about it, and I replied, "It's shop window and backup players / squad players that I'd like to see. For them exact reasons, you need to keep your squad players getting minutes under the belts, and you've got to get players in shop window." Which is why I said earlier, furthermore, that obviously the reason Samore is probably getting done without any hassle is because of the final situation, but that's probably why he didn't play at all in that game. And I think the lineup was quite right given the scenario. Had we beat Brentford and Southampton, I think I would have been begrudging Brendan, saying you probably could have afforded to it. But again, we're in a different mindset. If ands and buts and coconuts, as they say, you can't really talk about what didn't happen. If Leicester had 6 points on the board, we wouldn't be talking about Brendan out. Fofana probably wouldn't want to admit that he's a closet Chelsea fan.
As Gino De Campo once said, if my grandmother had wheels, she'd have been a bike.
Well, yeah, that's very true, isn't it? If I'd have been born into a rich family, I wouldn't be poor. But
exactly, yeah. No, totally. I think, like you say, had we been sat higher up, if we'd got sort of 6 points or 7 points on the board or whatever, then I think we would have probably seen another team go out there.
And had we lost that game, then in that situation, we'd have been going, it was a chance for the young.
Would have said, who needs a cup run? Let's concentrate on the league. LCFC believer, good evening to you, sir. How do we have enough time to buy someone now, or do we leave it for January? I don't know whether it was you, Brad, or somebody else that said to me, I think it was you, that said that people don't suddenly... What will happen is we won't sell... Probably tomorrow, let's be honest with you. We're at Chelsea. I'm sure, Top will be meeting whatever he's called, the new owner, and crossing the T's and dotting the I's. But we don't suddenly then think, oh, right, we can buy somebody now. There are players that we've been looking at for weeks and months, possibly a couple of seasons, that, we know because we've lost most of them. Do you know what I mean? So, there are going to be things that any club, again, that's worth its salt, will have a list of players that in case they lose somebody out for a season with a broken leg, or somebody has a career-ending illness, broken fibula, whatever, they've got to have players in mind that they would want to bring in, So
I'll say this for example, Jestergaard. Good old Jestergaard was brought in within days of Fofana's broken leg. He was brought in within days, wasn't it? And it was outlined that's why he was brought in. Brendan's never shied away from the fact that he was brought in as an emergency cover. I'm pretty sure, like you said, it's not like Leicester are going to go, oh yeah, crap, that means we need to replace him. We didn't think about that. We were just all about the 85 or 75 million. Damn it, yeah, they're right. He's, this club's going to have, and even if these players have to be crossed off because they're elsewhere now, whatnot, there will still be one or two, maybe even three names that, like we're already hearing, that Brendan has got, has on his sheet going, well, he's still here, but if we get the money, that's my first priority. That's our overall to bring in. And if he doesn't want to come, I've got him and him. And I'm sure, even though it'll be 2 or 3 days, we will act quickly to replace Fofana if that's the case. I wouldn't be surprised if, whilst we're, like you say, letting the ink dry, dotting the I and crossing the T's and whatnot, I would not be surprised if Leicester's got the other half of the negotiation team somewhere else talking about to a player and his agent and whatnot. I wouldn't be surprised if the ball in the background is already moving, as I say, especially if they're fairly confident that a deal's going to get done and tied up within, say, the next 24 hours. In regards to fun.
Indeed. Guys, do what it says there. Please subscribe. I know I keep going on about it, but it does help. Where are we with some questions here? Larry Woodward. Good evening, Larry. How the devil are you, sir? Welcome along. Noise doesn't carry very well in the KP. Muses me when one part of the ground mows about another. I mean, let's just get this right. I mean, I, for one, love the clappers. I think that they made, on a cold, if it was cold, then you could applaud, yeah. But other than that, if you're wearing gloves, you might as well not even bother applauding. But we had them for so many years that I'm not going to say like they should still be there. No, because we're going to go for a season without them. We've had them for however many years, 7 years, is it? We've had them. So we had
them in the championship, didn't we? We had we had them Great Escape.
They end up in the bin, or I've got some on the walls here and what have you, the big European games, but we've done them, we tried it, so I'm not going to sort of throw my toys out the pram and say, I want the clappers. It will be interesting to see if this rebuild does go, because of the way the roof is shaped and everything, how that will generate noise.
Yeah, it will do. I mean, again, literal science comes into it, doesn't it? How sound travels, how it works. You change you're not just adding 8,000 seats to the stadium, which will obviously add to the noise generated, but the whole construction of how it's done in terms of the shell look it's going to give more cover, sound's going to rebound off it. The distance traveled, and again, what you've got to remember is, and you touched on that subject a little bit about the spread around of where the singing lot like to be and where they've been congregated. That also doesn't do the atmosphere any good in that sense. But it is what it is at the end of the day. When we were winning week in, week out and things were great, the atmosphere was better than any ground around the Premiership. It's part and parcel with football. I have been to the LTID on numerous occasions as an away supporter, and I have been almost like saddened for the Man City players to listen to the lack of atmosphere at the LTID. And you're talking a couple that wins anything. So sometimes be careful what you wish for. Because I remember the last time I was there, it was like I'm in the away end, and you do as an away fan, you only can hear so far and so much. Because sometimes you're singing that much, and your end's making so much noise. I was looking left to right, going, I am at the Etihad, aren't I? It is a Man City home game. I'm not away. And
I think as well, not everybody just wants to sing.
No, some people actually go there and get so engrossed in the game.
Some of the new songs, I don't even know what they are because the song's so out of tune that I can't understand the words.
Yeah.
And I'm not a great singer, and I have never, ever started a song in my life. It doesn't mean I'm any less of a supporter. I'll applaud. No. I just don't necessarily want to sing all the time. There's nothing that says when you buy that ticket that if you don't sing, you are thrown out. I'm sorry. Exactly. So if you want to sing, that is fine. And if I am surrounded by 10 people all around me that are singing, I don't mind whether I want to sing or not. Is or not. Exactly. Tony's asking here the fact that possible relegation is on some people's lips. That aside, have the younger fans now had their first reality check? I said last season was a reality check, didn't I, Brad? You remember I said that a lot. And it is early. I mean, relegation is a long way off because we're 3 games in. All I will keep saying is Arsenal last season, look where they were. 3 games, they were pointless. And they finished in a European or Europa League place. So let's, as annoying as each game is, and when we go mad about things, we look at that game, we've got to remember that it's an old saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint, etc., etc., etc. But it is. So I think we'll go down? Yeah. I don't know. No team's too good to go down. Man United aren't going to finish in the bottom half where they are now. whatever their troubles are, they've got their players are too good. They will finish top 10. Whether they finish Europe or not, we will see. But you find that Leeds won't be in the top 4 at the end of the season. Brighton won't be in the top 6 at the end of the season. So let's just kind of, how many of those clubs started well last season? Palace, Wolves, and then fell off towards the end. Like I say, Chelsea aren't going to be bottom half of the table. Man United aren't going to be bottom half of the table. They will, so let's not panic too much.
No, and also remember, as bad as things are here, I know they're not having the same, transfer fiascos that we've had this winter, but there's sort of, we might be having it bad, but there's at least still one team showing us how to do it a little bit worse. No goals, no points. They'd get you 250 on the show pointless for an answer. It's West Ham, wet spam United. And look at the season they had.
In fairness, though, they did on aggregate qualify the Europa League 6-1, but then they're playing the equivalent
look at the season they had. That's what I mean. Look at the success they had last season, and we're wanting to build on that. I don't think they're panicking after 3 games. I just think, unfortunately,
I don't know. You want to listen to some of the channels, but I tell you what. I was very, very lucky because I don't know if anybody knows, but we do have a bit of banter here with West Ham unofficial Jake, and he was actually in Poole today. He sent me a picture holding fish and chips on Poole front, and I said, bloody hell, I'm locking my doors and shutting my blinds. He was a bit too close for comfort. LCFC great, love that shirt. Chris waiting for mine to arrive. I tell you what, mate, I ordered this via the website. I didn't have any extra badges put on because normally I have LTID on the back and the Premier League. At 63 quid, mate, I'm not paying for any extras. But I did, by not having the Premier League badge on, I did able to pay DHL because, of course, the post office are going on strike a lot. Postman Pat is stopping at home with his cat. So I ordered it DHL. It came the next day. I love it. Of course, you can see the new theme I've got here on the show is blue and gold. Everything's kind of working through that way. So it does go very nicely with that. Plus, I hate the green shirt. And I'm sorry if Jack is watching from the Final Whistle, another Leicester channel. Check it out. He had it on earlier, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like it when I saw it, how they presented it in all the dark light and what have you. Seen him wearing it, and I didn't like it at all. This should be the second shot. I do love it. The pattern in it is brilliant. And just out of interest, we on Monday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know if I'm coming or going. We are doing with Doug from the Dugout Football Channel. We will be doing a shirt show. And we'll be looking at all the clubs and all 3 shirts and rating them and seeing who's got the best group of shirts. So home, away, and third shirt. And you know what, Brad? There's still about 5 teams that haven't got third shirts yet.
Oh, God, I don't get that. Do you remember when after every couple of years, Leicester used to do a shirt? I remember them days. We used to look forward to it, and everybody used to do it in unison. And you'd get there, and you'd go out and get a shirt if you wanted one on match day, and they'd do some special advertisement for it. Now it's like, what are you trying? I don't know what clubs are gaining from it. What do I think they're gaining from it? Like saving the best till last. Like you said, I'm not the biggest fan of the greenish one. I'll have to maybe see these in person when I'm back over visiting family, but I'm not the biggest fan of the designs on any of the kits to this season, to be honest with you.
See, I love the.
I think we should go back to maybe 2 or 3 seasons sticking at the same kit. What do you think, Zach, Chris? Me personally, I know it's not because of what's happened with King Power, but I was happy with this sort of.
I didn't like the neck so much on that one, but I do like a collar. And for me, the home shirt reminds me very much of the football that dragged me into supporting Leicester, which was the Worthington, Weller, Birchnell.
I'm very glad you managed to save your words there, because I thought you was going to say that you were drugged upon.
No, that was when only when Frank McClintock came in, we had to be drugged up to go in and watch him. But no, in those days, and they had this. It was a throwback to that, the main shirt. I don't know why we have 3, to be honest with you.
I don't get that either.
Because, you've got your home and you've got your away. I'm sorry, you're gonna, if our away clashes with there, then they can wear their. I just don't get why we have 3. But that said, I love this absolutely. I didn't like it when I first saw it. And when I saw it sort of being modelled, I absolutely, well, you can tell I loved it because I got it, but it does go very well with the blue gold. Rich, hi, how the hell are you? Welcome along, sir. Rich Sports, do check it out. If you haven't already, a great channel there. A bit early to talk about relegation. Exactly. West Ham have started poorly. They have. I mean, look at you guys, Man United, because Rich is a Man United fan. We joke about it because it's nice to see the big team struggle. It was nice to see that we were third from bottom and you were second from bottom. I'm not going to lie, but we know that the season, as I said earlier, isn't going to end up like that. We do kind of have to just take things a little bit easier. But Moyes under pressure with the poor start. Wouldn't surprise me if West Ham pull the trigger and panic. Vestergaard the skip. I don't trust Rodgers with our money. If Susan Whelan.
Huh?
Yeah. If Susan Whelan what?
Maybe this is the answer. What is the question?
Yes, exactly. It's very true. All I can say, David, and please take this in the way in which it is meant, and I can't find it now, but this.
Will you stop asking stupid questions?
David, I'm joking, but I couldn't resist it. So if Susan Whelan, I guess. Michael Keane from Everton on loan. A couple of years ago, it might have been.
Didn't Michael Keane play for us?
Yeah, he was here on loan as well.
Yeah, we've already had him on loan before. And former teammate from Burnley, Ben Mee, we had him on loan as well.
Yeah. We did. Yes, we did indeed. It's clear he's going, says Facebook user. I guess you on about Fofana. I think we've all accepted that and cheered. Can't really say I'm surprised. I can see Madison heading out as well. I can't. I mean, you do say Facebook user contracts mean nothing, which they don't. We've seen that with Fofana. Okay. All it does is guarantee, had Fofana not signed a contract, we might not have got the money we're getting for him. So that's all it really does.
Yeah, which is where I think they don't exactly mean nothing. In terms of the commitment, obviously it doesn't, but it does mean something in terms of the club having something to fall back on if a nasty situation like this arises. As for Madison, I think he'll sign a new deal. He's always been one of them to come out and defend the club and whatever and try and keep the rumours at bay when it happened. Do you remember the Harry Maguire situation when he tweet something would get tweeted and he'd come out and go, no, he's just not very well. Now, whether that was actually the actual truth at that point and it wasn't, in regards to what happened with it, I always think he's a great love of the club. I would like to think if he's going to come out and say he's going to do the deal, I'd be fairly confident he's going to sign the deal, and I could very much see Madison going down as a player that spends a lot of his time of his playing career at Leicester. To be honest with you.
Definitely. David says here, thanks so much for this stream. Last one for me. Barnes at times is a one-trick pony as he makes the same mistakes. Do you think, unfortunately, we've seen his best as he can't seem to learn and improve? And the problem is, I think a lot of players hit their peak when we finished like the 5th for a couple of seasons and got into Europe, etc.
Yeah.
I think we've just got to forget last season. I don't think you should judge anybody on last season because so many players were playing out of position. We know Tielemans is not as bad as he was last season, but he was being asked to play a different role. So let's get this out the way. Let's forget last season because, like I say, it is very much a bad season. It just nothing was going right. I'm sure at times we could have seen Jopokovic up front with Nacho who are that struggling for players. So let's see how we go when we get this transfer window gone. I think I wouldn't sell Barnes. I would definitely keep him.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, let's have no chance. Players will definitely leave when we have nothing offer at the moment. These players want bigger money and Europe. Unfortunately, we all know Leicester is a stepping stone. Just greedy Madison won't be staying whatsoever. Is he greedy? I don't think he is. I don't think he is. I mean,
No.
he's not signed the new contract. Is he any greedier than Fofana? Is he any greedier than let's take a reality check here. See if you agree with me here, Brad. We are Leicester City, okay?
Yeah.
As much as we know we've won the Premier League, we've won the FA Cup, we've won the Community Shield, we've won League Cups, we've won everything in this country. We are Leicester City. We are not Man United. We are going to expand the stadium by 8,000 and we are still only got a capacity half that of Man United. Yes, we're known worldwide because of the 5,000 to 1, but we are not, and I keep saying it, Man United. We haven't, we're not loved all around the world, etc., etc., and there's various reasons you could say that. We're not a Liverpool. We're not a Manchester City. We are in that second group of teams at the moment in the Premier League. 7 years ago, we were in the second tier. In football, that's recently when you think about it, and we've got to accept, and as I said this to the Chelsea fan yesterday, we will take players from, I mean, are you saying then that James Justin used Luton as a stepping stone? Because he went from Luton to Leicester. Because we are bigger than Luton. But if James Justin then goes on to Man United, yeah, I get that totally because, I mean, I hate admitting it, but obviously we do know they are a bigger club. But then Fofana goes to, and we've mentioned this right at the start, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but Fofana goes to Chelsea, Real Madrid come knocking in a year's time. There's always a team bigger than you that will shit on you. As big as Manchester City are, financially, when I say big, financially, are they, would a player go to Manchester City or would a player with Champions League ambitions go to Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich? And I know this week that Manchester City owners come out, or one of them has come out and said, yeah, we're not hung up on the Champions League. We're putting the Premier League first. Yes, they are. They want to win that. We know they want to win it. But if I was a player, I'm looking at that thinking, well, God, they've been in there like 10 years or something now, and they had one chance and they completely blew it, even with a masterful, Pep in charge. I think I'll go to Bayern Munich.
Sadio Mane leaving Liverpool. Sadio Mane leaving Liverpool this season. Yeah. Cherished by Liverpool fans. A lot of fans saddened him. I think, and I don't like to talk too much about other clubs because I don't know them as well as other fans. But from the feeling I get from people I know that support Liverpool, when it was mentioned about Salah, Firmino, and Mane, I think a lot of fans were maybe expecting that it'd be Firmino that was getting moved on this window. And it turned out to be Sadio Mane. So was he a stepping stone? Was Liverpool just a really long-term stepping stone? Was Liverpool a stepping stone? Yeah. Was Sterling a stepping stone? Yeah. It's not like that. At the end of the day, James Madison's not Leicester born and bred, and we've turned away some of our own that wanted to cement their career for many years at Leicester. Joachim, Dion Dublin, Leicester born and bred, but Dublin took to the end of his career before he stepped foot as a Leicester player for us. But he would have wanted to play for us as a kid. Julian Joachim never got the chance to shine at Leicester in the Premier League division, because we cast him out, we sold him. So the shoe's been on the other foot where loyal Leicester diehard fans, as kids growing up and had the opportunity to play for, weren't afforded that opportunity. There is youngsters that we let go. But, we can't just sit there and go, and I totally respect that you have your view on your take on Maddison and how he is, and that's totally fine. But my retort back to that would be, Maddison doesn't owe us anything. He's been at the club for a number of years. He's always performed. He's always handled himself well in press conferences. He's never caused us an ounce of trouble. And if he did decide tomorrow if Newcastle did decide, what, bored of it, want to spend another 66 million or whatever, Maddison's asking price, we're willing to pay it, and he upped on us, all the more to him if that's what he wants to do with his career, because we kind of maybe need to remember that just like when we go to work every day, or I know I don't myself and that, but right now.
No, I'm the same as you.
Those of you that do go to work and do things day to day, you know, you don't owe that company you work for any loyalty. That depends on you as a person and your personality. And I think we've got to remember we're dealing with human beings that have a limited span doing the job they enjoy doing, which is playing football. Because we are maybe forced to, some of us, but we're forced to work until we're in our late 60s, 70s, given the retirement age. Maddison may only have until his early 30s. He doesn't know how long he's going to be able to play football at top level.
It's like you say, if you grow up and you are working for the family firm, you have some loyalty to that company. The loyalty you've got, and this is why. See, I understand Fofana wanting to move. I understand Tielemans wanting to move because, like I say, take the blue tinted spectacles off, and we are Leicester City, right?
Yeah.
Fofana, it's just the way he's gone about it. I think we all accept that. But Maddison has no loyalty to this club.
No.
You know, he's not grown up a Leicester fan, you know. How many players can you actually say out there, apart from probably Kieran Dewsbury Hall, would actually say, my dream is to play for Leicester? Go outside of the county and there won't be that many. You know?
No, there won't. And with the greatest respect, before maybe Dewsbury Hall, the last player that Leicester fans probably cherished a lot more than they would have had he not been Leicester born and bred. And I'm not saying that Dewsbury Hall isn't actually like a really talented youngster, because he is. And I'm not saying this person wasn't a talented player, but Andy King. I would ask the question, if you go, you know, hypothetical out there, but if Andy King hadn't spent 10 years at the club, or hadn't come through that youth academy, which we signed from Chelsea, by the way, going back to the Chelsea connection, he was released from them, wasn't he? Or we signed him from their academy.
Yeah.
If he was not technically brought up for our academy and grew to love the club and be the person he is, that stayed for as long as he could with Leicester before he saw out his time under Nigel at Bristol City, I believe, would we hold him as fondly in his heart had we signed him as a 24-year-old and he stayed for 6 or 7 years, but he wasn't a Leicester lad? No, we'd go, thank you very much for the memories, Mr. King. But on to pastures new. And we'll do the same with Maddison. We'll have fond memories of Maddison when that time comes, if that time comes. You know, this is what sometimes makes a club legend, is when they do things. That's why we have club legends, because it's very, very rare you get a player that does a Vardy, that stays with you beyond any means.
There are very, very few one-club players these days.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. Can I just say, Terry's got to go. He's got to move some furniture, move in the couch to hide behind, ready for tomorrow. I was actually sat on a couch the other day with my girlfriend, and she looked round at me and she said, you know, should we take this upstairs? And I went, well, okay, then you get that end, I'll take this end. Oh, thank you. I'm here all week. Unfortunately. Right, let's just run through these last ones now. I haven't had it yet. LCFC Grey, I haven't had any add-ons on my shirt, but I had Fever Foxes. I always had LTID 1 on the back of my shirt, and I always had the Premier League, because I don't know when we won't be in the Premier League. You know, it might happen, but I just can't afford the extras these days. Is Anki or whatever he's called joining us? Can he play out from the back? I've no idea. Time will tell. David, of course, Chris, I was going to say, if Susan Whelan is involved in our transfers, we have someone I trust. I enter before I finish my comment. Okay, so if Susan Whelan is involved in
there we go. So the answer to the question was, in charge of transfers, who do fans think would do a good job? The answer is Susan Whelan.
Yeah,
I'm going to give the points to you and his team.
Yeah, I think it's Rudkin is the main guy at the moment. And people obviously like to take a swipe at Rudkin, but, you know, they didn't take a swipe at Rudkin when he authorised the signing of Mahrez, when he authorised the signing of Jamie Vardy, when he authorised the signing of Kante, of when we first bought Fofana. You know, people always remember the bad times, and they never remember sort of the good times. And you've got to be fair to Jonathan Rudkin. That was great business. Maguire, 80 million for a fridge. Yes, I think it's just the fact who is playing well in that Man United side. Chelsea beat us 4-0 tomorrow. Well, I've gone 2-0, so I can't really argue.
I can't argue with you predicting that because I think we're all winning it, to be fair.
Exactly, Brad. I agree about the stepping stone debate. We have to accept that is our place, and just like I say, I know I went mad. Do you remember when you won't remember this when McGee left?
Mark McGee from West Brom.
Yeah, when he went from us to Wolves because he thought Wolves was a big club, and we were absolutely spitting feathers. He hadn't been with us a full season, etc., etc. But we'd actually poached him from Reading. Oh, that was all right, but hey, the fact that he's left us.
It's not so nice when the shoe's on the other foot. I think fans forget that sometimes, and you could, to a small degree, not give it as a defence or anything, but I said to someone, I think I said to you as well, mate, that maybe the writing was on the wall with the final because he did these same antics a little bit with Etienne when we tried to approach them for him. So, it all goes full circle, unfortunately, these things.
Yeah, well, as Chris says there, good evening, Chris, welcome along. I said to the chat, as I said to you earlier, Brad, I said to Ankit, the Chelsea fan, yesterday on the preview show, be prepared for this to happen. Because if Bayern, I say Barcelona, Madrid, etc., come and knock him, he'll be wanting to go. Even Man City, because they can outbid. Although they are obviously having to watch the money now, which is why they are.
Well, Man City, and Chelsea, they seem to be sweetening the pot towards a deal between rivals. So you never know.
Well, it's interesting to see that before Man City have been buying these players in, they've been selling some of the players, which you would never think that they would have sold Sterling to Chelsea. You would never think they would have sold Jesus to Arsenal.
Does that come down to the fact that Man City and Chelsea really don't care too much? Does that come down to the fact that football's changed so much that they actually right now are not seeing Chelsea as a rival, so they don't mind selling them to him because they want to move that sort of player anyway?
Yes. Johannes, can you speak German?
Nein. Mein Deutschland ist nicht gut.
That's more than I can do. I must admit, though, I do like to speak German when I'm visiting the St Mary's to watch Leicester play Southampton. I seem to say 9 a lot there. I don't know why. Johannes, welcome along. You're on Twitch. We're on you on Twitch here at Leicester Till I Die TV. On Twitch, if you want to follow us, if that's your platform of choice, it's LTIDtv. If you want to give me a follow, I check on there after the end of the stream, and I always follow back. So if you want to follow me, I will follow you back. But unfortunately, no, I don't speak much German. I was rubbish. I'm a typical Brit, I am rubbish at French and German, and I was so glad when I could drop one. And funny enough, I dropped the French and went for the German because the word sounded more English. But
unfortunately, my German, I'm hoping I said that right. I said that with such confidence, but it's the bare minimum I remember is how to say that.
That very much reminded me. That's what I would call Joey Barton French. Well,
I literally did say that my German was not that good. So
but there's a lot of English. There's more English words in there than German.
Well, again, the German and English language is talked about often and being quite close.
Once you got past 9, you were struggling. I could tell that. But hey, it was still more than me. It was still more than me. I
didn't want to swear in German either because I could swear in German.
Do you remember when you were at school and you're doing it? That's the first words you looked at, wasn't it? Fart.
Yeah.
But then again, we were kids. Look, we've gone over the 2 hours, going up for 2 hours 10. Let's just sneak this one in. David says two things going for us tomorrow. They don't have Tuchel due to his red card, and they won't have Kalibia. I can never say that. In defence, Koulibaly, that's it. Thank you. In defence, who I rate, hence my hope we go for 2 up front. Well, we can. I've been screaming for 2 up front for 2 seasons since it worked for us. Great. So I don't know. Brilliant. Look, thank you very much to everybody who has joined in the chat today. It is great. This is the Question Time show. I don't know where I pinched that idea from, but it is the Question Time show, or it will be called that until somebody decides to sue me, because we go to the first question just to get the ball rolling, and then we basically, as you've seen, we just discuss what you want us to talk about. This is the show that haven't got an agenda, but the bit of an agenda that it has got, if that makes sense, is set by you guys in the chat. And we love doing it, don't we, Brad?
That we do, mate, and we love answering questions because, as you may have figured out in the years you've known on the show and anybody that watches, I do like to talk and go in depth answers. So if I get more questions asked to me, it gives me more excuse to keep talking.
To be honest with you, you and me both, mate. You and me both. I have realised that when I actually say, well, I'll just say this first, and I do go on a lot longer than I intended. So it's very easily done. But thanks to everybody for joining us. Brad, thank you very much for joining us as well. Go and check Brad out. His details are in the description below on YouTube. It's at Fulltime Focus, all one word, on Twitter. And his A Matter of Opinion is his YouTube channel. Does what it says on the tin, basically. It's all about opinions, chat. So, Brad, I will see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And I dread what we're going to be talking about, but I think I do know what's going to happen tomorrow. But fingers crossed, you never know. Miracles happen.
Stranger things have happened. Yeah, stranger things have happened. And again, maybe I'm just hoping out on a long roll here, but we all remember what happened when Powell was faced with the fixture of doom, don't we? So maybe Brendan will get that along. And who knows? The catalyst to start and the turnaround of a season has to start somewhere. Wouldn't it be funny if our last big middle finger to Fafana as he strutted on up and stayed in London overnight for his new club was witnessing them getting, trounced by Leicester? It'd just be calmer at its finest.
Not only that, when he wakes up in the morning in his new hotel suite with all his money, he slips on the soap and breaks a leg.
Well, maybe we wouldn't go too critical with that much further, but I do.
Only after he signed the contract, of course. Only after.
Yes, definitely, and past the medical and the medical.
Oh, of course, yes, mate. I'll see you tomorrow at 7. Thanks very much. Take care, buddy.
No worries, buddy. No worries.
Cheers, mate.
Take care, mate.
Right. Bye. Thanks to Brad there. Graded us, and it's Friday, not Thursday. Did I say? I don't remember what I said, to be honest with you. I never listen to myself, but nobody else does either. But now, thank you all so much for joining us today. We have had a great time. It's a show that me and Brad love doing. We're going to be back tomorrow at 2:30. For the Chelsea versus Leicester watch along. Kick-off obviously 3 o'clock. 2:30 we'll be talking about the team, etc. I'm just trying to find somebody to do the watch along with me. And then post-match at 7 o'clock with the aforementioned Brad. Next week it is one hell of a busy week. Monday, of course, it's bank holiday. So at 4 p.m. on Monday, we are doing the shirt show. With some of those teams out there, it's the shit shirt show. It really, really is. There's some bad ones. There is some bad ones. And then at 9 o'clock and 6 o'clock, it's the prediction show. We've got 2 weeks to get through, 2 lots of games in the week. So that will probably go on for 4 hours. 9 o'clock, though, the Rob Tanner interview. Make sure that you don't miss that, because he's written a great piece about what's going on at Leicester. And, of course, Rob Tanner, he's up there with Fabi for me. On the Tuesday, we're having a review show at 6 o'clock for the previous week's games. This is Monday, we can't fit it in because there's Premier League games that night. On the Wednesday, 7:30, I'll be over on Devils United TV talking Leicester Man United. And then Devils United Maisie, along with Reese, Craig and myself, will be previewing the Man United game. We then play Man United on the Thursday, so the watch along there from 7:30. And I don't know when we'll be doing the post match. It won't be at night because it will be finishing about 10 o'clock, and we'll all be ready for bed. Probably sometime on the Friday if I can fit it in, because I've got two personal appointments on the Friday. Brighton review is on the 8 o'clock next Friday, and at 10 o'clock next week it's going to be question time. So we're going to be a bit later next week. Thanks, guys. And then, of course, we play Brighton at the weekend. Thank you so much if you've been watching. Really appreciate it. And if you have been listening on your favourite podcast platform, thank you for lending me your ears. I really do appreciate it. Please, you're welcome, Chris. Thank you for popping on. Please do, like I say, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1,500. And please, as well, I know 15 of you have now liked the show. So that does help the algorithms. I will see you tomorrow at 2:30. Have a good night. Don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy, I always say. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks very much. Take care, everybody. Good night. Take care.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
Sam Butler on the pitch, they think it's all